AwayCast number 2 coming at you in 3D. I'm here with Greg Andrew Della Rocca.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time on video via something. Josh brushing his shoulders off. Joshua Hinkie, live from Chi-Town.
What up, yo?
That's going to be your thing every week? What up, yo? What up, yo?
I introduce myself to people.
Like,
they know instantly I am a weird dude. So,
like the waitress last night?
like the waitress last night. Ooh, this has been my thing. I just keep finding women who talk to me. I think they're hitting on me. Things are going really well. And then they have a boyfriend or they're married, as in the case of last night.
Why do birds suddenly appear? Back me up, Kate.
So wait,
So tell us a little bit what happened. What happened to you the other night?
So, and like I said, this has happened to me multiple times recently. I was at a bar and we were getting some drinks, trying to get a little wasted. And this like I'm really sketch about like talking to / hitting on, flirting with waitresses because first off, they're at work and I wouldn't want someone coming in. It'd be like someone coming onto this podcast and hitting on the three of us while we're trying to do our job.
Right.
And so
I'd be okay with that, I think.
Me too.
I don't know. I think I might be all right with
about.
that.
Anyway, go ahead.
I was like just trying to play it cool, but then as I started to drink, we started talking a little bit more, and I started thinking like, oh, maybe she's interested, and like turn to my friends, and of course my friends are like, yeah, dude, go for it, because they want to see me crack more. So I'm about to make my move, and then one of my friends ends up talking to her, and he comes back to the table, and he's like, I got some bad news. I just found out she's married. And I was like, what? This is ridiculous. And it's not just the waitress. I was also, when I was at PAX East, I was sitting next to a girl and she's like, so are you staying the whole weekend? What are your plans? I was like, oh, obviously she wants to go grab some dinner. I was like, yeah, I'll be here the whole weekend. She's like, I don't know if me and my boyfriend are going to stay. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Wear a sign on your body that says currently in a relationship.
Well, wasn't the waitress wearing a ring?
Sorry?
Wasn't the waitress wearing a ring?
No, of course.
No
She took it
ring.
off.
No
Yeah,
ring.
no.
That's...
Dude, she's working on the tip.
Yeah, she wants you to... Exactly. They take those rings off because they want some more money.
I don't know where your head was at. You have to scout those things out. I think that's your initial problem.
No, it's not his fault. Again, John, it's not his fault. She took the ring off. How can he scout that? Was he going to...
There was no inclination in any part of the conversation.
No. There was no indication that she was involved in any sort of relationship.
So your boys were like trying to egg you on, but you think they had an inclination? I like saying inclination.
Oh, no. This is literally everyone at the table when this was dropped. Everyone was like, what? This is no way. But yeah, so it's and actually we didn't even find out like it was her friend, like the waitress's friend ended up like talking to one of my friends, and that was how it actually got dropped that she was married. So
wah, wah.
All right. Well, I mean, it could have been worse. I mean, you could have picked a fight with a deaf drunk guy on a train.
What do you mean, Greg?
Well, segue. Getting better at these.
All right, Greg, you have a story apparently.
Well,
Gather round, everyone.
I got bullied twice this week. I'm a 26-year-old adult. I should not be getting bullied by people anymore. I was on the train 2 days ago, and I get on, and I was coming home from here actually, and a guy gets on completely wasted. It's fucking 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This guy's completely drunk, and he has like one of those little earpieces in. And at first I wasn't sure what. It turns out he's deaf, and he has like one of those.
A hearing aid.
It's a hearing aid, but it's like one of those like more. Like those newer ones that like attach to a thing on your head.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm. You keeping up on all the hearing aid models? What are the
I'm
newer
big
ones?
on the hearing aid.
Okay.
Studies anyway. So the train lady, ticket lady, ticket lady comes over and she asks him for $1.50 for a ticket because he was just going one stop, and he throws a fit that he's not paying, but he's doing it in, you can't understand him, because I'm not making fun of deaf people, and I wouldn't be doing this if he wasn't so, he was angry and being so abusive, but he was just making loud noises and yelling at her, and then he got a couple words out where he called her a fucking N-word. And
Ooh.
yeah, And that really, it bothered me like a lot. It made me really upset. I mean, I was a little tired and hungover from the night before, but I was definitely like, pissed off about it. And there wasn't that many people on the train. So here's where the story gets.
So the hero steps in
well,
here.
sort of. It kind of backfires on me.
The chosen one.
So what I do is, because we're sitting right across from each other pretty much, me and this guy, like 2 seats apart, but we're looking right at each other after this whole thing happens. And she walks away, and he calls her like baby and all this shit, just being like a real
like, hey,
ignorant
honey.
asshole. Yeah. And so what I do is I'm staring at him, and we're looking at each other, and he's looking at me. He goes, what?
That's because he couldn't hear you.
Well, I took my jacket off, trying to be intimidating, because I have tattoos. So I took my jacket off. I'm like, maybe I'll just intimidate this guy. I took my jacket off, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and he's like, what? I'm like, nothing, man, nothing. I was like, don't talk to me, stop talking, and that's when he goes. So you're a tough guy, huh? He goes, you got tattoos. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what are they? So I go up to him. He's like, you ride Harley Davidsons? But he did it like in a really incoherent. And I was like, no, I don't. And then he goes, oh, so you're a homo.
Because you don't have a Harley.
Well, exactly. Because I have tattoos and I don't ride a bike. So for the remainder of the train ride, because he can't make out many words, he just kept screaming over and over again. He'd just be like, you're a homo! You're a homo! You're a homo! You're a homo!
Wait, so
train homo!
Hold on. He stayed on the train even though he didn't pay?
Yeah, he stayed on for... No, he paid. He got the money. I paid. He stayed on for one stop, and the whole time, my friend Mike is sitting across from me, and he's hiding. Like, he's, like, crouched. And the guy's just screaming at me, calling me a homo, because I have tattoos and no motorcycle. And,
What, are you going to bring the motorcycle on the train?
well, no, I told him I didn't have one, so he's calling me a homo over and over again, and then he comes over to where Mike is sitting, and he looks at Mike, because he's leaving the train now, and he looks at me, and he smiles and goes, homos, and then he walks off the train.
He gives you a symbol?
A little two, like a pointed to two of us.
Oh, like pointed at.
Yeah,
I thought this was like
of course you have a guy with you because you're a homo because you have tattoos. So that was the first one, which was.
I think you're picking on disabled people.
I don't want it to sound like I'm picking on disabled because the guy was very nasty. He didn't want to pay me. He used the N-word. Hopefully I'll get some support from that on this.
But do you think that he's trying to take advantage of the fact that he's disabled?
See, sometimes I think he was like, oh, I can't hear whenever someone would talk to him. But then he would come right back with like a really racist, just ignorant statement. So I think that he was kind of just. Honestly, fuck it. I think he could hear everything. I think he was
taking
being
advantage
an asshole.
of,
He was drunk. He was older.
How old was he?
Probably in his late 50s.
All right.
Yeah, he was an older guy who should know better.
So personally, I think you should mind your own business. Like, I agree with you with everything.
Yeah, I don't think I should mind my own business. I think what he did was wrong.
No, you're right.
I think that sometimes people, he made other people in the train uncomfortable, and I felt like I was doing the right thing by stepping in and trying to. Really, I guess I don't know what I was going to do.
No, I mean, listen. Go ahead, Josh.
Redirect his anger to you instead of,
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I was taking a bullet. I jumped in front of a bullet.
No, you're right. I think with Josh, you're chopping up. What's up?
Josh, I think if you put your mic more in front of the mouth, I think yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, that's
there
it.
you go. Hi, Josh. Welcome.
Hey, it's nice to be here.
So what were you going to say?
Josh, what were you going to say?
Oh. Well, I was just going to say that, yeah, and you figuratively jumped in front of the bullet. I think you were very gentlemanly.
Yeah.
I also would say that I think that if this guy has, like, a hearing aid, that doesn't excuse him from being a racist.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Absolutely. And that's what made me upset. Also, I'm not going to lie. I was tired. I was hungover. And I wasn't looking. I'm not a violent man. And honestly, if you do look at my tattoos, there's like precious moments and like lots of color. I mean, I'm really not. They're really not intimidating. I was kind of just upset that he went to that point to say the things he said, and I just, I wanted to make him uncomfortable like everyone else was uncomfortable.
Right. No, I think what you did was what Josh said. Like, you kind of made him redirect all his angry life onto you, which is good. The only reason I said that maybe to avoid... This guy might have sat down eventually if you wouldn't have gotten involved.
He was sitting down the whole time.
Oh, really?
We were both sitting while this was happening. At one point, I got up because he asked me to come over. He also told me that he asked me where I lived, and I was like, I live out east. And he said, well, I'm from California, and my wife's dead, is what he said to me.
Oh.
And then I said, oh, I'm sorry. And he said, no, fuck you, homo. Fuck you, homo. And I was like, maybe he was saying something else. Maybe he was saying, No, he was definitely calling me a homo. I don't even know what else that could be.
And how did that end? How did this? Let's wrap it. What's the story?
The way it ended was, like I said, he walked over to me and Mike said, "Oh, obviously you are a homo. It's
And
your
he gave you
boyfriend." He
gave
gave me
the
the two fingers,
The floppy rabbit ears.
the two homo fingers, and then he
Vanished.
Actually, he came over. He said, "Good day," and he walked off the train.
Tipped his hat.
Yeah, he was a gentleman at the end of the day.
I don't think he quite qualifies as a gentleman.
Yeah.
I think Greg's being really nice to this guy.
I think I'm going to get a lot of people who are upset that I was, doing this with the
No,
deaf man.
you're definitely the hero in it all.
All right.
But
also, I just put real quickly, the other, because I mentioned 2 times I picked on, the other time, I'll do this real quickly, was I was going to 7-Eleven on Wednesday night, and some drunk kid was sitting outside of 7-Eleven, and I wear just straight leg jeans. They're not like skinny jeans, they fit me properly, and as I walked up, he looks at me, just this drunk, like 25-year-old guy, and he goes, nice pants. And I go, thank you. And he goes, if I was as little as you, I could fit in that shit. Ooh, and then I just like, what the fuck? I'm a grown man.
I think he's trying to say he could fit in those jeans with you.
Maybe.
You missed an opportunity.
People think you're gay, obviously.
Yeah, I guess.
25-year-olds are trying to get in your jeans.
Yeah, I'm a stud. Yeah, that's the bottom line.
So, what else happened with this guy at 7-Eleven?
I went inside and I thought, again, I was being kind of like macho when I walked in. I said, "You guys got a drunk asshole sitting outside." It turns out his friend was at the register, and he looked at me and said, "You better shut up. You better shut your mouth now." So again, automatically I felt I was scared.
So you were like Larry David. You were pretty much being Larry David.
I wouldn't quite give myself that much credit, but I was definitely it was definitely made me feel pretty shitty. But yeah, anyway, yeah.
You got to come up with a bigger plan for if you're going to be macho.
It just happened.
And act big. Then you got to really back it up. So carry like a fake gun in your back pocket. Or
That's a
something
good
like
idea.
Really good idea.
Good idea. Okay. Brilliant, Josh.
Speaking
The
of,
AwayCast does not endorse carrying fake guns.
thank you.
All right.
Speaking of guns,
Yeah.
BioShock.
Let's do a video game segue.
BioShock
And
Infinite. BioShock. So we're all finished with the game, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes, all 3 of us.
How do we feel? Are we hungover? Not for real, Josh. Game hungover.
I was hungover this morning. But actually, like I after I finished that game, I had to like digest it. It was one of those things. It's like going to see like a really great movie or something like that, where like you would come away and you have to think about it before you can really sort out how like what makes you what you really like about it and what you thought was really excellent, and so you can actually talk about it with any sort of assimilation. I'm just rambling now. I'm just going on and on.
Right. No, but I know what you're
Greg,
saying. It's yeah. Go ahead, Greg. You can go ahead.
Man, I loved it. It was just it was such an awesome experience from the very beginning. Visually, it was incredible. It was a really, really great story that just kind of like pulled me in. I've never really actually felt so like so involved in a story. A lot of times in games like that, I'll skip over a lot of shit. I'll skip over like reading stuff and listening to things. But with this, I kind of just I had to look at everything and read everything and they're just as much hype as there is and as many people that are already saying this, so it doesn't sound just like I'm regurgitating something somebody else already said. I mean, in all honesty, it really was an amazing thing, and it really just kind of I think sets a new precedent for games, for the production at least, and the art direction and whatnot. I think it's just a whole new tier. And
it definitely gives a new term to the term, or a new term to the name thinking man's game. It's a thinking man's game, and it doesn't have to do with the mechanics. The thematically and the story are more
right.
Like there's lots of thought behind them.
It definitely goes to show you that a game that focuses as much or maybe even a little bit more on story could end up being a much better game than a game that just focuses on its mechanics.
That's a small thing that's being brought up recently. People are saying that, we don't really care where graphics are headed because now we're having diminishing returns on graphics. Storytelling is really where people want to see the meat and the love put into their games instead of, next Battlefield's being showcased quite a bit, and, the graphics look great. I mean, they had the first 17 minutes of gameplay put up, but at the same time, it's not going to take you places that Infinite took you. So we went to midnight release in the city in New York, and we came home, and Greg stayed here because we did the podcast last week, and he said something that resonated with me, especially since we grew up in the same generation of games. He was watching me play the intro, and what did you say, Greg?
About what? I don't recall.
About Mario? Like Mario 64, like how it made you feel.
Oh yeah, that's how I felt.
Right.
I felt like, because one of my most favorite memories as a kid is when Nintendo 64 came out. I didn't have one right away, and my friend Lewis had Nintendo 64, and he had Mario 64, and I remember going to his house the night that he got Mario 64, and I've just never seen anything or experienced anything like that in my life. And we stayed up all night, and I was just watching him play, and we were taking like 25-minute shifts, and just like seeing the way like this world kind of like completely just takes you in, and how interesting it is to look at. And it was just like this feeling of like something so new. It didn't even feel like just a regular, video game, like a new next gen title. It just felt like something completely different, something that was like completely new to me. Just because I felt the details were there was just so much focus on these details that it wasn't just something that you could just walk through. You really had to stop and just take in, the scenery, and you had to look at everything. And you didn't even have honestly, if you're the kind of person who gets in a game like that and doesn't do that, it's probably not a game for you in general. Or you're just not going to, you're going to listen to these kind of reviews and just think it's bullshit. But really, you need to take a minute and look around this game, because it does something. It did something to me, at least, that was unique and something I haven't experienced since I first experienced, a 3D game on, Mario 64.
That opening sequence is jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, like from when you come into Columbia, and the art direction, specifically like with the candles and the water, and hearing that choral version of "The Circle Is Unbroken."
Yeah.
That's just jaw-dropping. It's awesome, and I think that I agree with you. Like, whenever I play open world games, it's still pretty rare. I'm still pretty story driven. I want to get to the next chapter, get to the next thing.
Yeah.
But with this one, like every time that I got an audio log or something like that, I'm like, oh, good. I get to know more. I want to know more. And actually, I think that you have to play this game a second time to get everything and to really, enjoy the full experience of it. I had to play it through in like an 8-hour chunk. Friday night. I got to play like a few hours when it first came out, and then literally couldn't play it for a couple days. Then started Friday at 10 o'clock and played it straight through until 6 in the morning the next day. And like, it was fantastic because I just got to go on that thrill ride of a game. But the one thing that I didn't like about it is I didn't get to just soak it in. And there are a lot of places that are really great to just kind of be and exist. And especially that beginning where you're just like, going around and listening to the people talk, and you get that barbershop quartet version of God Only Knows.
God Only Knows, that was so good.
That stuff is so fantastic. And one of the sequences that will just be ingrained in my head for a really long time is that sequence where the rebellion starts, and you come out and you're killing the and you're, part of the Vox Populi rebellion. And there's that girl sitting by the stockades. You can hear the gunfire and people screaming in the background. She's singing that a cappella version of Fortunate Son.
I love it.
That was so good. Yeah.
I've been listening to that song by itself over and over.
The a cappella version?
The a cappella version.
Is that on the soundtrack, the Infinite soundtrack?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't know if it's the CCR version or if it's that version, but that woman actually is I don't know the singer's name, but she is actually singing in the beginning too. There's a band on stage, but her voice is just incredible. I love that kind of voice. Someone said it sounded like Janis Joplin. I don't know, but it was fantastic. But from the beginning, I mean, from even the part where Booker's rowing in the beginning through the Hallelujah, through all of that. I mean, the game that sets the pace for the game, and it never stops surprising you. A lot of people went into this game with expectations, and they were exceeded in terms of storytelling. I know a lot of people been a little complaining that the gameplay is a little flat, but I firmly believe that the gameplay in Infinite is determined by what level you want to play it at. I think they give you enough options to sandbox the combat and the gameplay. You know that you have skyhooks, you have vigors, you have a couple of different weapons at a time. You can choose what to upgrade. They give you a decent amount of cash or whatever you need to find these upgrades. You have a lot of choice. I know Greg, the first time when he first started playing through it, he wasn't using the vigors too much, and that was by choice.
The game, actually, I must say, because after talking with John about that, I went back and I did start using the vigors in combinations like they intended you to, and it makes the game a lot more fun, and it also, in a way, makes it a little bit more, the combat a little more stimulating when you do something like that. Because when I was just playing with just the weapons, I mean, personally, I never really found the combat to be very, very challenging. I was just playing it on normal. But I can definitely see people saying like, oh, it's just boring if you're just using the weapons. But if you're actually like really thinking about it and trying to do like really awesome shit with the vigors and do combos, and you're upgrading certain guns to work with the vigors and all that kind of stuff, it could be more of like a personal thing, like you know, of just doing, you know, awesome shit in a game and like setting up awesome combos for yourself and like trying to figure things out. It's kind of a fun thing.
I started my second playthrough, and I'll get to the details of the story in a second, but even on my second playthrough, I'm experimenting a little bit more with different kinds of gear. I'm experimenting with the invulnerability gear, like when you jump from a skyhook and then back off of a skyhook, you have brief invulnerability. And once you start mixing gear and things like that, you can approach the game in a completely different way. Like I'm jumping off of skyhooks, hitting a guy, headshotting a guy, popping 2 vigors on a guy, vigor combo on a guy, jumping back up just because a handyman is trying to kill me and I'm trying to like block myself from being hit. You can, I mean, Josh used the term visceral quite a bit, and I think that is the best descriptor of how the combat could be. But I can see, you know, like Greg said, why some people might think that, oh, it's just the combat is a little boring. It's because you're making it boring. They're giving you enough opportunity to really have fun with it.
And I would also go so far to say is that to people who are seasoned gamers or who really love the hardcore shooter and stuff like that, you might find elements of BioShock Infinite to be really easy, but then turn up the difficulty because there are people who want to play this game who want that low barrier of entry. They're looking for something easy, and like maybe this is one of 2 games they'll pick up this entire year, and they deserve the opportunity to play through that story just as much as anyone else.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that sometimes with games like this, I prefer to play them at an easy level to absorb the story, I think, properly for me, so I'm not so focused on the combat. But I will say, this game, if you play at normal, it is the perfect balance of difficulty, and you definitely still have, you know, you're not going to be constantly dying to where it's going to be off-putting to where you're going to want to have to wait. You're going to be able to go through the story in a nice, like, fluent motion. I'm sure easy might even be too easy if you played on that difficulty.
I mean, there's a reason games nowadays, Devil May Cry and Halo and all the what's the Gears of War one? Not what's hardcore.
Isn't it the hardest mode? Like insane mode, yeah.
So all these games nowadays are offering that option. They're offering legendary. They're offering insane. They're offering, what can I say for Devil May Cry? They're offering Son of Sparta mode or whatever.
Yeah.
And now that you have 1999 mode, which you can unlock from the main menu with the code. You know, so you could even start playing this game in the hardest mode if you want, but that's not what you want from a game like this. That's really not what you want. You don't buy BioShock because you want a challenge. You buy BioShock because you want to be absorbed by a world. Like you
want both. You want to be challenged both mentally and in a strategic way,
right?
You know, and you want to be also sort of like completely, engulfed in a story. You know, you want to. It's an escape in a way, I think.
Totally. I mean, I think the combat has to be hard enough to be fun, and you feel accomplished when you beat a group of enemies or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's never, we're not playing Dark Souls. Like 99 mode is pretty tough, what I've played so far, but it's never, so hard that I want to quit playing the game, like playing Halo on Legendary, where it's just so frustrating, you got to put it down. It's good enough to where it's a good challenge, and I'm not fighting so much mentally to figure out the story and to figure out, where I should go next, where I should double back and open up a chest with lockpicks or something like that. A lot of that in 1999 mode is more about the combat. So you get both.
It's also indicative of Levine's vision, where he's telling a very, very complicated and interesting story that is talking about split dimensions, going back in time, all these things. If you're spending an hour trying to beat a large encounter, by the time you get to the next story section, you're gonna be like, what is this? I forget all of this. Like another 5 minutes of exposition. And the way that they exemplify this is by how you die. They purposely like just throw you right back into exactly where you were. And that's intentional. It's because they want you to just keep going. They don't want you to sit there and get frustrated and to like,
That's the whole thing too, because like when you die a lot, you stop playing the game. You know, if you're in a section and you die more than 2 or 3 times, there's a good chance you're gonna be like, "Fuck it, I'll get back to it later. I'll get back to it tomorrow." And that kind of thing right there can totally disconnect you from what's going on. You're gonna stop caring about the story because it's not gonna be fresh to you, and you're just gonna be focused on just barreling through it, getting through these parts that are really hard. Where I think in this game's case, you can always get, for me at least, in normal mode, I could always get through this stuff. It was a matter of me choosing how I was going to get through it.
Exactly.
And I actually really like that a lot more than having a really difficult time,
I talked about Tomb Raider with you, Josh, recently, and we were talking about pacing, and I think, talking about load screens, load times, whatever, I was playing on the Xbox version, but it was very well paced. The loading times, the areas. There was never a time where the loading kind of took you away from the action. It was always more like contemplative time for me. Like, all right, what's going on in this story? Let me recap. It was never interrupts the action to load a screen or to do something that takes you out of it. So I think.
I think that's actually a massive credit to that game is that when I think about that game, I don't think about those loading screens, or I don't think about any moment where I was like, oh, okay, all right, now wait and wait and wait. But specifically, I think that what you said that really intrigues me is that you felt contemplative during those moments. And that's kind of the best thing about this game is that it fucking makes you think, and even when you get to those breaks, you're just kind of absorbing what has happened and absorbing your relationship with Elizabeth, and to kind of have a game that kind of drives home that feeling where it's not just about wipe the room of guys, move to the next room of guys, wipe that room of guys, move to the next room of guys. It really does give you these pauses so you can kind of reflect on what's happening. That's so rare, and that's what I thought the game really excelled at.
There was some moments, and I can't be sure of this, but I think this is what they did, because there's some times where you'd be doing an in-game, in an in-game situation, and then out of nowhere there would be some pre-rendered graphics, like a pre-rendered almost cutscene would happen in BioShock, and I saw happening. I thought, if this is how they did it, I really think it's really, really interesting. There was one time, I think it's one of the first times that you deal with the songbird outside of the building, and you're on the line, the skyhook, and it's this really long skyhook down.
I know what part you're talking about.
It's like almost a minute, and I feel like they used that as a loading, like they're loading these pre-rendered graphics while that's happening, and then out of nowhere, when you get to the end of it, the songbird comes in, and it's just fully pre-rendered graphics that are beautiful, like of the songbird just coming down on you, and it never stopped to load or take you out of the game. You were still coming from the prior situation,
right?
And I think, and they did it at another time in the game also, during one of like the gondola battles, and I thought that was fucking awesome. I think if games start doing more of that, to where you never leave, you never even see a loading screen, you're just doing something that's taking longer while they're loading something in the background. I think that is just like the future of the way this stuff can go. Yeah,
it's not something that's gone unexplored. I think a lot of people have done it. It just depends how tastefully they execute it. It's not. We hit a little middle ground with Assassin's Creed where it's like, all right, you have a playable load screen, and then eventually they started hiding playable. You can run around. Then they started doing short loads during cutscenes, and if they start doing it during actual gameplay, of course, any integration where it doesn't take you out of your experience is always welcomed. So
wait, how deep should we get? Should we get into this right now? Should we stop ourselves so we don't have to put a spoiler alert up on the? Well,
we can talk about other aspects of the game. I think the vigors, comparatively, compared to what are they called?
To the Eve and the
plasmids. Thank you.
Oh, we're talking about right.
compared to that, I think they did such a great job of keeping the same motif but differentiating with enough different kinds of abilities. You know, like you have your telekinesis with the what's it called? The Buck and Bronco kind of. Oh no, well actually no, like they split them up because you have Undertow,
right.
and then you have Bucking Bronco, and those are both kind of like telekinesis from BioShock. And then you still have like your fire, but there were, you know, I just think they did a really good job with making it feel new with an old motif.
It also felt less complicated to me for some reason than it did when you were in Rapture.
Well, I think because Rapture, you were tied to like, well, you have you know, Insect Swarm 1, 2, and 3.
I guess there were less upgrade. There was less upgrades on them, so they were still upgrades, but they weren't as in depth. I think
they didn't feel like upgrades.
Yeah.
What they did was they added like another aspect of it.
Right.
They said like the Murderer Crows. You know, if you'd kill a guy with Murderer Crows, it would bring more traps of Murderer Crows. They also harped on the trap thing a bit more, which I think
that was cool.
Was very interesting. So I mean, going back to how gameplay can be dull, I mean, you can ride the skyline. You can set traps between 8 different types of things that all have they commingle completely differently. You have 2 different kinds of weapons, plus you have tears you can open up in the world for Elizabeth to open. You can run around this battlefield, go crazy, doing hundreds of different things, and with endless combinations. And I just thought it escapes me how people could say the combat is dull. I think that's just at their own capacity.
One thing I wish they would have done is some kind of weapon that was kind of like the rivet gun with the trap rivets.
But there was no protecting. You know, there was no protection missions.
That's true. I guess that was because of that whole gameplay dynamic.
Right.
Well, and another aspect of the gameplay that you haven't mentioned yet is Elizabeth tears. Her tears that she can create.
Yeah, it does. That was amazing.
Create the guns and stuff like that, and that is incredibly important and incredibly, you know, manipulative on how you can go about the combat. Which is one of the cooler things about the game is that even if you're going to argue the combat's easy, however many options that you have to go about fighting is really, really cool about it. And, you know, and there's a couple sections of the game, we won't get too spoilery, obviously, but that you take those things that you've relied upon and manipulate them again. And I think that it's the small tweaks to that stuff that really kept me going back to it and really never getting bogged down. I actually thought the combat was pretty great. You know, I could see the argument for maybe it was a little standard shootery in some ways, but once again, that's how much you want to put in. You know, if you want to put in the, you know, like changing the tears consistently, and the other thing that changes the combat is Elizabeth, like, you know, giving you stuff. And I actually had a couple moments where like I would sit there like fighting things, and you know, I'd be talking to the game, and I'd be like, Elizabeth, anytime you want to find me something, would you? And like it's the stuff like that where, you know, where I'm talking to the screen, talking to the game, actually like it would just be in character, you know, like it's a line that could have come from Booker being like, anytime you want to help me, Elizabeth, would be fantastic. And that stuff is where I thought the game actually excelled in doing mechanics. That's something you won't get from playing any other shooter, is that like actual interaction with another character during the fight. So
yeah, there were times definitely where I was looking at Elizabeth for screaming at the screen, and I immediately apologized to her. I didn't want her to get upset.
I was calling her Liz by the end of the game.
Yeah.
I had a little nickname
I think
for
we
her.
all fell a little in love with her.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Right from the scene where you found her dancing on the boardwalk.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Disney princess.
Yeah.
She does they actually do a great job of writing her to give her that, like, she starts out so innocent, and her arc is really great to, you know, grows more and more aware of the world around her and more aware of her powers to, you know, at points you will become scared of her. You know, by the time that Booker gives that line that's in the trailer of like, you know, are you scared of God? No, I'm scared of you.
Yeah.
I actually felt that was true. I was a little bit scared of Elizabeth, and I was a little bit scared of what she was going to do or what she was going to do to me. So
I just wanted to take her to Paris. DLC maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We just walk around Paris and she could throw you money. But all right, let's use this opportunity to let our listeners know who won the cool stuff that we're giving away.
Contest time.
Contest winner.
We have a winner.
All right. So we have two things to give away. We went to that midnight release, like we said, and we had a couple of people from Irrational sign an exclusive poster. Do we have it here?
over there?
Yeah. Go grab it, I guess. So we have an exclusive poster signed by... Do you want to get their names up, Greg?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Get their names up. I forgot their names, but they are the audio designer, right, Greg?
Yeah, it was one of the sound designers, and then the other two were one of the producers of the audio recording for the for the voiceover actors, and I think the other person was also a sound recorder. It was one of the audio teams was there. So.
Cool. I apologize for not remembering their names, but they're definitely important. And here's the poster. The lovely Kate has the poster here. It is New York midnight release, March 26, 2013. Down there on the bottom, we have the signatures, and it's Bunker Bronco. So we are about to give this one away. We also are giving away a season pass for those of you who didn't buy it yet or anything like that. I'm gonna give away a season pass, and then whatever platform you're playing on, I'll hook you up. So the winner of the Bucking Bronco poster is Mr. Matt Richardson from Saratoga, California. Congratulations, Matt. You won an all-inclusive poster. All right, so that's that.
I will
Congrats,
say I'm
guys.
a little hurt that I didn't win.
You
I
can't
did
win
submit my
if
name.
you're on the podcast, Josh.
No, that's not what we discussed.
God, you're so jealous. Matt, I'm sorry if he contacts you trying to win the poster back. Our other winner, this one's via Twitter. That one was Facebook. This one's Twitter. And guys, thank you so much for everyone who's been following and showing us love and all that stuff. We really appreciate it, helping us get off the ground. I hope you enjoy listening. Wow, I just had like a very John Tesh radio show moment, didn't I? We want to thank y'all for listening
The
to
more
us.
you know.
Our other winner is Mr. Frank Davis. He is at numb something
Yeah.
at Twitter.
All right.
Okay.
I tried, but he'll know his name. Frank Davis. We're going to reach out to you guys on your respective platforms as well. But that season pass is yours if you want it. If not, I'll keep it. But that's that. So, yeah, thanks for everybody for listening, and we really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. I'm going to send everything out at the same time, so our winners who I got in touch with for the figurines and the T-shirts and stuff like that, you should look forward to that next week. Cool?
We will continue to find ways to bribe people to listen.
I know. What do you got? Do you have anything to give away? Josh?
Do you have any personal
I
things
have
you
this
want to give
Batman
away?
shirt wearing.
Do you have that?
This Batman shirt. You can win this Batman shirt.
You
You're
can
gonna
win
win
Josh's
right off
Batman
his back.
Right off his
Right
back.
off it. I will sign it for you with a headshot of myself.
Anyway, if anybody wants that, it's at Josh. What's your Twitter?
At Joshua.
Oh, they broke
good.
up there.
JOSHYW.
You're breaking up. You're breaking
You're
up
broken
again.
up, and maybe for the best. Okay. So we wanted to talk about, since GDC just happened, and pretty much the industry's way of giving out all these awards.
A general talk about all video game award shows, or or the way that they do their conventions, or the way they like to at least make us think it is.
Well, the problem is knowing their audience. I have a hard time discerning whether or not they want to have these to show people the pageantry of like, hey, we are a major media outlet. We're video games. We're just like movies. Or are they trying to show gamers that, people in the industry should be respected as movie stars? Or look at us, we do this thing. But we obviously all know, if we're listening to this podcast, we all play games. We know that they're not... For the most part, they're not hitting it right. They're not. There's something wrong there. We all cringe. We all don't understand why the hell they send people out there that probably haven't spoken in front of an audience before. I mean, that's mostly E3 or conferencing in general in terms of like showing off stuff. But at the award shows, Spike TV obviously being the absolute worst. It's seen as kind of a joke, and I want to know what you guys think about what's wrong with it, where we should head with it, where we want that, because we don't know where it fits in the industry.
I think for the most part they could be almost smaller in a way.
Right.
They don't need to be so extravagant. And I think that if they got more people to talk, or the people who represent these companies or the winners to talk more about, with more like sophistication, people who could represent these people a lot better than the ones that just come up there. I think it would be, because what happens also is because there's a lot of people who come out there to present who are foreign, and that's just how it is. But instead of getting a translator or like figuring out a way to do this better, they just kind of like almost rehearse something to say into English, and it's kind of difficult to kind of.
So right now we're talking about presenters at like
speakers
at like E3. We're not talking about award shows.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, we can talk about both.
I guess I kind of
that was my
there.
fault.
Yeah,
but. No, I agree with you. I mean, they have, especially Nintendo and Square Enix, and a lot of people. They have people come out that really can't speak the language, and they have translators. Where I don't know how they would handle that aspect of it, because people have hired actors and third-party people to come out, and
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that
because us as an audience, we don't know how to take that. We go, oh look, they just hired some talking head to talk about a game. They have no clue what they're talking about. Or the guy comes out and he shakes and he stutters and he doesn't know what he's saying.
These people need to get PR like a group that works with these game companies, because this is a huge industry now. This is bigger than the movie industry, that can talk intelligently about the games, who does understand them, who does play them, who knows what goes on, and it doesn't sound like when they bring a celebrity out or a musicians out or something like that,
right.
It's gimmicky, and it doesn't seem real to people who are like, it might appeal to younger kids who don't know really.
Well, the reason I think it appeals to younger kids is because they see the spectacle that is, this must be Hollywood, this must be the big leagues, because it looks like a presentation that, like the Oscars or
MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah. Perfect example, or Kids' Choice Awards, whatever it may be. But why do we have to do that in this industry? Why do we have to follow in the lead of other media outlets?
Well, I think the difficult part for that is that you have a lot of, and with other industries, you have celebrities who have been speaking in front of cameras and microphones from the age of 6. Like people who have been doing it for a long time. So when you have, these people who are coming from video games, it's a lot more difficult because they haven't had that. They don't have that experience. They don't have that camera readiness. And a lot of these guys, came from, basements and spent more time in front of computers than microphones. So to try and get them, right in front of an audience to explain something or present an award, it puts them at an immediate disadvantage. This is something that will change. You get people like Cliff Bleszinski is a pretty good, media face and knows what he's talking about when it comes to games. Like, he's a good person to kind of be the example of being press ready and also coming from a games background.
Right. It's good that we have game faces like Gabe and Cliff, and even got reviewers now. Adam Sussler's getting a little bit of notoriety out there. I mean, that's fine that we're developing.
And Kevin Pereira also.
And Kay Pereira. And Kevin. Do you mean Kevin Pereira? Kevin Levine? Well, Kevin Pereira.
No,
and
Pereira.
Jeff Keighley. All these guys. They're all.
But do you also notice that the actual production value of these shows is usually a very off, like the camera work, the lighting, the timing on everything, when they're supposed to come out, the music playing, when the presenters are talking.
Well, there's celebrity presenters that come out shit-faced drunk that, like, they're just like, oh, it's another award show.
It's a joke to them, yeah. It's not as serious, and that's a whole other thing. But, like, I also know whenever I watch them, like, the camera will be on the wrong person. They'll be showing they'll be going to show gameplay footage, and it won't come up right away, and they're trying to show, like, a real-time playthrough of something, and the controllers don't work. It's always like they didn't practice it, or something was always wrong. It just seems like it was always thrown together at the last minute,
That's all production level. I mean, that'll get better as the industry gets better and as these things become more publicized events. That's how I feel. I
just wonder if, not E3, I'm talking about award shows in general. I'm wondering if we just don't keep it closed door. We don't say, why do we have to go, the nominees are? Why do we have to have that kind of pageantry? Why?
I hate award shows in general. I hate the idea of
I think I might
awards.
too.
I think that whole idea kind of just fucks. It's stupid.
I think anybody involved, especially in the Oscars or any of these things, and then they've been in it for years, guys like Jack Nicholson and people who've just been around these things, they hate them too because they realize that it's like...
Do you ever feel like it's like you about to say politics?
Political, yeah.
And it's also I feel like a lot of this stuff, especially when I watch like MTV awards and stuff, I feel like people are paying for these awards, like sponsorships. I feel like it's like paying for advertising.
You think so?
Well,
I wouldn't doubt it.
they also have to like they need to give awards to people who will watch the show. Like, you know, if you have remember when The Departed won Best Picture, it was like, well, we know a lot of people like Martin Scorsese, and this is probably like the highest production picture, so we'll finally give it to Scorsese,
Right.
even though Goodfellas was, you know, easily.
But
his
that
best
totally fucks the integrity of awards in general.
Right.
When it becomes a thing where it's like, well, he doesn't really deserve it, but people are watching that liked it, so let's give it to him. Or like a lot of people bought this game, but really, obviously, from the committee standpoint, the people who are supposed to judge this, it wasn't as good as this game, but because everyone bought this one, we're going to give this one the award. Like, that's kind of shitty to me.
Yeah, and I don't think there's quite as much politics into the Game Awards yet. I think that's just too young to have that stuff. Like, I mean, who's the Dice Awards trying to really, you know, impress with their nominee list? But you get the risk of that whenever you expand.
Well, when I was watching the Game Developers Conference, a lot of the awards would have, honestly, like sometimes the same developer nominated 3 or 4 times in the same category.
Wow.
Like for I think it was Game of the Year or Best Game Design, something like that. Ubisoft Canada was nominated like 3 times in the same category. Like, that's kind of...
See, so it makes it seem like that they're forcing this, like, we have to have these nominees, we have to open the envelope, we have to call them up on stage. Like, why can't we break that down into these people won, release lists or something? What benefit is it to show gamers and game developers out there, like, look, we can do this movie type shit too. We can do this. I keep using the word pageantry, but it's true. It's like
it would be
a
good idea to take the idea of an award show, and this is, in fact, because it is such a new thing on such a new industry, maybe redevelop it in a way that's better than it is everywhere else.
Right.
You know, I doubt that's going to happen.
No, but that's what I hope. That's what I hope for.
And that's the $1 million question: is how do you make it better? What do you do to make it better?
Yeah.
And like, I think if you can somehow find a way to preserve the integrity of what these awards can be, of actually recognizing quality work, you know, that's a way that can get a leg up over other things.
There's always just controversy around it, though. Like, people were unhappy with The Walking Dead winning. That was Spike, right? I mean, there's always gonna be people that are unhappy. Don't get me wrong, but
something like that seems like it was a correct call.
Right. I think because a lot of people were also rooting for it. But it makes me wonder, like, is it because The Walking Dead is popular? Like, I want to give Telltale their props, you know. I want to make sure they're getting
that game made a lot of people's top 5 lists.
Absolutely, it was on my top 5.
And a lot of people, but a lot of people didn't make it number 1 because it was just like a simple choose your own destiny kind of game, you know. Although from a story, I mean, I can't talk much. I didn't play it, but I've heard enough about it. It seems like from a storytelling point of view, is one of the most, you know, sort of.
It's gripping.
It was like, as far as storytelling games are concerned of the year, it seemed to grab people the most. You know?
Right. I mean, it's 100% right. It's well deserved and everything. It's just Spike in the past has been known to give Call of Duty game of the year. You know, it makes you wonder where their motives are.
2004 won Game of the Year. When Madden 2004 wins Game of the Year, that's when you know there's a problem.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, you know, it makes you question the politics of it, the behind the scenes of it. I just hope that one day we can move away from, like, the idea that this is the route that we have to go. Back to your $1 million question, Josh. I think we have to. But part of me also wonders that, like, are we just facetious guys as gamers? Like, are we very critical? Are most gamers critical? Is no matter what, are we going to criticize? Like, well, look at this. This is ridiculous.
You gotta, but I mean, it's obvious. I think from the stuff we're pointing out that there's a lot of issues, at least with this topic. You know, I think if people stop being that way, if people stop being critical, if everyone is just, you know, a slug about this and just sits there and they don't care, then nothing will ever move forward, you know. So I think it's important that we ask these questions.
Go ahead, Josh.
I will say the one thing about the Spike Awards is comparing that to, like, the Golden Globes. They give the awards to all the pretty people. Like, I mean, they give you know, best character, best game, you know, best PS3 game. Like, just give all these awards that, like, are the cool awards. But the thing I like about the Oscars, the best part of the Oscars, is when they give awards to, like, the, you know, sound editing, sound mixing, editing, cinematography, people who never get their name said. And that's the one thing I'd like to see out of any sort of publicized, you know, award show, give a nod to those people.
They did do that at the GDC. They did do I didn't watch the whole thing, but they did do like some audio mixing. They did like a Lifetime Achievement Award, which was actually a little bit tacky, I think. But they did a little bit of that. But I know what you're saying. They do need to sort of like focus on the programmers, focus on the the guys that are doing the 3D work, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I agree with that.
I'm just gonna hope, just like I hope this time every year, that this E3 is going to maybe not have big name bands and Usher and people dancing on stage and all,
God, I hate it.
It's so hard. It just
I don't even want to watch it when it happens.
It's counterproductive as a gaming as like a thing. We're laughed at as game. I mean, knowing that we're gamers as our age. I mean, we take enough shit as it is, and we're not even in the median demographic. Like what's the average age of
30,
gamers?
Between 30 and 34 years old, I think, is
right.
Like
so there's
the main group of gamers that these people are making games for.
So things like this just help us backpedal right into like, oh, we're not really taking it that serious. And people are like, well, is gaming considered something serious finally? Are we finally considered a creative outlet that's producing art? And I think things like that just put us waggling a friggin' Wiimote.
It's someone's gonna do shitty at the conference when they start bringing out to me at least, when they start have to compensate with like celebrities and bands and all this shit. When they start to have to compensate for not being able to show us good games, I start to lose focus and hope. I lose hope.
I hope that they follow the lead of Sony's most recent conference in New York. It was like games, a little bit of talking, games.
But what happens is they have to impress each other. I think there's pressure on each other when these shows come on. Maybe someone hears, Sony has, Christina Aguilera coming out to sing a song, and then Microsoft hears that, they're like, well, we gotta do this, and then Nintendo hears that, and they're like, we're not gonna do anything still.
Exactly. That was a dig at Nintendo, everybody.
I will say though that like. I agree. I think as the industry grows and as we begin to learn more and more about the behind the scenes of what makes a great game, that the people who are tuning in for the Game Developers Conference Awards, the E3 Awards, those people are going to be the people who actually like are going to understand the more technical talk, and they can come out and do something like what Sony did, where they're talking about the guts of a system or the guts of a game. And we don't have to listen to Usher sing "I Want More" or something.
Oh, I hated that. That was. Was that from Microsoft?
I don't remember. It was probably some Dance Central.
It was one of the dance games. Yeah.
Karaoke Gone Wild, whatever the name is.
Karaoke Gone Wild.
I don't know. I just hope we get away from that a bit, because do people really sit down and watch these shows that aren't into the technical stuff?
That's I think about that all the time. Like if you like, for me and John at least, and probably for you also, definitely for you, Josh. But like when E3 comes around, it is like a fucking event for us. We'll call out of work. We'll call out of work. We'll
watch,
stay home. We have our Ventrilo, or we're using our X, but we're talking while we're watching it. It's like a big thing to us. So I can't imagine a lot of little kids or like families doing the same thing that need that kind of gimmicky entertainment to get them interested in what they're watching. I mean, they must get a lot of people like us, the people who are actually watching this stuff, who are complaining about the gimmicky garbage.
I wonder is anybody covering E3? Is Spike gonna do it? Who covers it? Because G4 is gone.
G4 is out. Yeah, I don't know. It might just all be streamed now.
It will probably either be streamed, or I can definitely see some like Spike jumping on that.
Yeah, but how's that going to work? Is it going to be proprietary? Is Xbox going to stream Microsoft's? Is PlayStation going to stream? Is that how it's going to work?
Wasn't there? There was like an E3 website where you would.
Yeah, there was show the whole conference stream. I think last year.
Yeah, like an E3 stream.
But there's not going to be anything mainstream like on television.
I don't know.
That's pretty shitty for a console year.
Yeah.
Someone will pick it up. If anyone, it'll probably be Spike.
You picked a bad year to go under G4.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah, the Esquire network now. Oh my god.
There's something I actually want to say about, because it's going back from before and something that we've been doing on this podcast. We're slightly little backhanding Call of Duty from now and then a little, and we were talking about Infinite BioShock before, and what I wanted to say was that the last time I enjoyed a story in a first-person shooter as much as this one, besides BioShock 2...
Prey.
No. Was actually Black Ops.
Black Ops 1.
Black Ops 1.
See, a lot of people give that shit. I think
that's ridiculous, because that was I was totally. I couldn't stop playing it. I couldn't stop playing. I loved the whole Victor Reznov thing. I loved the psychological, aspect of the whole situation. The story was good. Like the way they would go back to the interrogation, back and forth. I thought was fucking awesome.
You know why it got shit though? Because it was a Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
it took the scrutiny that a Call of Duty game should take. Unfortunately,
because of multiplayer though, not because of the. I feel like a lot of people bought that game, didn't even fucking play the campaign.
You're right.
They didn't even touch the campaign.
I think you also, whenever you're talking about Call of Duty in general, the biggest problem with those series is that they're annualized. You're getting one every year. So when you talk about which one is good versus which one is bad, the conversation becomes so loud that it all just becomes muddled.
Right. Did you play the Black Ops campaign, Josh?
No, I didn't play the Black Ops campaign.
John, you went through it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Josh, I recommend it's not. You are going to be totally. You're not going to expect it to be as good as it is.
If you go in it with the blinders on, saying like don't play it as Call of Duty. In story terms, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It's the same reason I said we talked about ODST last week.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of deal where it's different.
It doesn't feel like Call of Duty at all because they spent so much time. The writing is really good and the characters are really good. And there's a lot of like psychological stuff happening. There's like those moments in a game where you feel like you're losing your mind, and they do a really good job at making you feel like you're losing your mind a little bit too. Mm-hmm.
Well, most Call of Duties have to do with that end game, end all be world is ending, stop the nuke type thing.
Yeah.
And this happens a little bit there, but it's more about your internal struggle, which is different about a Call. It
is about your character. Yeah, it becomes more, and that's what I think. That's why it caught me off guard. Like I was normally with a Call of Duty game, if I get it, I'll play the first player to kind of like first player. I'll play the campaign to kind of get my chops up before I go online.
Right.
And I ended up not playing any Black Ops Online pretty much because I love the story so much. Like the visuals are really good and the places they take you. And I just I love Vietnam. I love that's like one of my favorite wars to watch and to talk about and stuff. I think it's really interesting and it's like complete mayhem, and they do a really good job at doing that.
Well, there's a lot of parts in the campaign too that are helicopters falling out of the air and a lot of Call of Duty tropes that are still tucked in there. But in there is a good story, better than most.
Good characters.
So Josh, play it.
Victor Reznov is a great character.
I enjoy Call of Duty games for what they are. Like I love I think that definitely at the beginning, the first one they did, which is actually like Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and even Modern Warfare 2, I was just the visuals were impressive, and I just think that it's because there's so many iterations of it. I've just gotten very blah.
Sure,
on it
that definitely happens.
Yeah, it was the first time you're introduced to those like almost Uncharted type in the set pieces where cars are flipping over you, and that was something new at that time. Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare changed a lot. Yeah. It defined this generation of first-person shooters. So, are you done?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just realized we went off on a Call of Duty thing, but I just wanted to say, because like again with first-person shoot, I really don't normally get into a story that much, but I really did with Black Ops, and it's really easy, I think, to give Call of Duty a hard time because of the whole bro culture.
Did Activision pay you?
Shut up, dude.
Shit. So, anyway.
Integrity lost.
Gone. I actually have a Call of Duty poster right over here. So you can't.
It's just to cover up the wall, though. It's
Modern Warfare 3, which wasn't a good game.
All right. So, what else do we got to talk about?
I wanted to talk a little bit about PlayStation Plus versus Microsoft Xbox Live. I don't want to knock on Microsoft too much, but they just introduced this program called the Play and Earn program. It seems like they're trying to fight back on Sony's PlayStation Plus, pretty much what they've been giving away for days and days, because there's a big argument that Microsoft does not give enough back to its players, which I firmly agree with. Do you guys feel the same way?
Absolutely.
You said you don't want to harp on Microsoft too much.
That was just kind of like my softening. You could go ahead, tear them apart. You can do that.
Let me do it for you. Actually, I am having some massive issues with the direction that Microsoft is taking their products in general. Because I think that Sony had a really bad start out to this generation, but has really recovered by offering a lot of perks to their system. PlayStation Plus is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Everyone should take advantage of that. But with Microsoft's really starting to just give me a gross feeling, and especially like their whole idea of turning their console into a generic entertainment machine is really starting to annoy me. And it's starting to feel like the focus is more and more in that direction, where it's like, we'll play your TV shows, we'll play your movies, buy
We were saying that at E3 last year. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we were definitely saying, because it was all like Facebook integration, Twitter integration, yeah.
Bring it back to
And
the
this
games.
feels like a continuation of that. It feels like with the points, like, hey, now we have a rewards program. We're just like GameStop. And it's like, well, no, just sell me your games. Like, I don't care about getting 8 cents off of my next game. And even the rewards program feels dirty. It doesn't feel like they're actually giving you substantial rewards. They're actually acknowledging how much you've played. And how many awards or rewards do you have, Johnny?
Well, this program's a little different. This is the play and earn thing. They just introduced this. The rewards is like, your first tier. If you have over 50,000 achievement points, you get is it like 1% off of your, it's some ridiculous slap in the face number. But right now they're introducing this program called Play and Earn, where for this month, if you play 20 hours of arcade games, you get an avatar item. Whoop-de-doo. If you buy any 4 arcade games, you get 1 month of gold.
Yeah.
What does that equate to?
That comes free with any game you buy, usually.
Right. Like, and then if you spend 3,200 points, you get 800 points back. So
That's not bad.
Yeah, but you have the reason
right.
that's out, and I don't have the titles here with me, but the titles that are coming out this month they're like unheard of. I mean, I apologize if I haven't looked much into them.
Like price wise, they're on.
No. Like these titles, I looked through them quick. It's like some other Double Dragon game and something else. It seems like they're using this promotion to make it look like they're giving you something beneficial to sell shitty games.
Well, and they just had their sale recently, right? There was like their Steam-esque, like, hey, it's our spring sale. And like, I took a look at the games and it was like LA Noire and like a bunch of games where I was just like, I have no interest in this list. Like, this doesn't benefit me at all. You're pretending to be Steam, but you're not.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of those sales. They're trying to like compete with Steam with
They're
the sales.
trying, but a lot of their stuff is still. You can go buy a retail copy for a lot less than a lot of these things. That sale that they had recently, though, they should always have that going. They should always have that. They have enough games that are shitty enough to put on sale all the time. And just to have it on sale shows like they want to show a sign of good faith. Like, guys, by the way, we know you spend... I mean, God, they're blown out of the water right now by Steam and by PlayStation. I bought a PS Vita, and I got 5 games free with it because of PlayStation Plus.
Yep.
What? Like 5? I remember when we used to have one game. We used to get Sonic with Sega, or used to get one other thing, Super Mario with whatever, right? And then they stopped doing that altogether. And now they're giving away 5 games.
Yeah. Also, I have to say, though, in Microsoft's defense, on my birthday, they sent me 25 points.
Oh, man. Never mind. Let me redact everything I just said.
You know what you can buy with 25 points?
You can buy a hat, an avatar hat.
Get a hat
Josh.
Or shoes, maybe?
Yeah.
A new nose ring.
It makes me wonder. I don't know.
I know Sony gives you like enough to buy an arcade game from their store when it's your birthday. I think I saw a post on Reddit where it was someone's birthday and they sent him enough of whatever. I don't really use the PSN.
No, it's just dollars. It's money for your wallet.
They sent them enough to buy, or they sent them a game or something like that.
Right.
Well, into that same argument, like, so you get 800 Microsoft points, but you can't use that to buy like anything that costs real money on their store, which all their actual games cost real money. Like, if I was to get Fallout 3, I have to pay $29.99.
Right,
so
right.
I can't use the 800 points to that, can I?
I think that there might be a way that when you're going to go through with your transaction, you could switch to points. But I think you can switch to Microsoft points, but they're doing away with those in the next generation because people are not stupid. They understand that it's an odd number of points every time you download something, that you're buying more points than you need to buy DLC. Like,
then you have points left over, just enough not to get the game that you want next, so you have to buy more points,
right.
And then there's a little bit more left over.
You need $1 towards the game, but you have to spend $10 in order to get the next tier of points. It's
been sitting on 320 points for like the last 6 months.
Right, and if you want to buy a 400-point game, you got to buy another 500, 800 points.
That's 800, yeah.
So I don't know. It just makes you wonder where their priorities are at. I mean, I've always been more of an Xbox guy, just because of the multiplayer aspect, because they marketed better in the beginning.
But this is the thing that bothers me is that I feel like that's Microsoft's thing, is that by now we have so many people so ingrained into this system, all their friends use Xbox Live, their friends use Xbox Live, that they feel they can half-ass their way through this stuff.
Right, it's a slam dunk for them.
Yeah.
It's not a problem, and that's a problem. I saw there was leaked footage of the new Xbox startup little visual, and it looked kind of like a Windows 8 icon. Like it looked like Internet Explorer's icon, and it really worries me about the OS that's going to be on the new Xbox. I'm really concerned that they're going to integrate Windows 8 with...
I have to say this. Where the fuck is the new Xbox? Like, we have heard about PlayStation for so long, and every day that there's no even like announcement for the announcement, I get more nervous.
You think they're scrambling over there? You think they're like, shit? Like,
I actually, by now, it's been long enough where I'm starting to feel like if they had something to drop, they would do it by now. They would be like, oh yeah, PlayStation has this. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm. But what if they're trying to build up some, like hype to it? They
Hype's
don't
done,
want you to see. They're gonna wait till E3 to kind of like be like, boom,
because they take a big risk at people losing interest.
Yeah.
PlayStation did such a good. Oh well, no, Microsoft. They saw that they registered a domain called Xbox Event. They registered that domain, and apparently they're planning something. It's not confirmed, but I was thinking sometime in April that they were going to finally be like, this is the new Xbox, or even a game, an exclusive title, anything.
It's getting to the point, and it's not too late. Like, I mean, if they have something to announce April and May, but it's getting closer and closer to E3, and if that announcement has to come out in the next 30 to 60 days, or it literally, you might as well just announce it at E3.
Well, to go on what Greg was saying, no one's going to be surprised at E3 when they're like, new Xbox. We know we know it's coming. We know it's going to be here. We just want to make sure that you're on point with us. We want to make sure that you have it. You know, I don't think it's going to build.
Also, though, you could think that. I mean, you can also say that because they've always had, I feel like, much more support than any of the other consoles generally, that they're like, you know what, let's let Nintendo and let's let PlayStation throw their shit out there early and kind of like get people thinking about that, and we're just gonna we have nothing to worry about. We have our shit together. We have plenty of people buying our stuff still. You know, we have all this stuff going for us. Maybe let's just wait till E3 and actually have a surprise for people.
I hope so.
And I thought that as well, but you are getting to the point now where they can't do it at E3. They won't have enough, because they won't be able to steal the show, because there's going to be so many other things talked about at E3 that they won't be able to get their limelight like PlayStation did. And if they're going to drop this thing in September, October, the months leading up to it are starting to become few for people to actually start saving money away. Because we obviously know it's coming, but Joe Schmo, who only plays Madden and Call of Duty, may not.
Right. And
so he needs to start saving his money, and they need to get a name out there for him to actually save it towards.
You're 100% right. I cannot agree with you more. But I'm nervous for them. Not as much as I am nervous for Nintendo. but I'm nervous for.
Oh God, that's a whole podcast, Nintendo.
I picked up my Wii U for the first time this weekend, and just because my buddy was curious about it, and as soon as I picked it up, it was like a system update for like 15 minutes. So
then another system update for the game that we wanted to play. I
was like, shit, man. I still want to check out Lego City, but I don't know. Whatever it is, it is. So
Nintendo, woof.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, Greg thinks they're not
future Sega.
They think future Sega with all those IPs. We got to sell those off.
I really want them to sell their IPs, and I want to see someone else make a Zelda game. I want to see someone else make a Mario game.
Make me a really good Star Fox game.
I want a Zelda game that looks real,
dark.
Just dark, realistic.
What about you, Josh?
Into a goddamn wolf.
Yeah, oh my god, and howl at the moon all day. If you could pick one game, Josh, from the Nintendo franchise to remake in a totally different way, what would it be?
I don't want to say Star Fox and Zelda because we just talked about them.
You can, but then you say your own.
You know what? I want to see a different Donkey Kong. That's what I want to see.
Oh, Donkey Kong Country?
Well, I mean, Donkey Kong Country is great.
Oh,
but I want to go and remake, take Donkey Kong and just do something different with it, because there hasn't been a Donkey Kong game in a long time, and so
a Donkey Kong where you're Mario or where you are Donkey Kong.
Sorry, say again.
Like a Donkey Kong game where you're Mario, like traditional Donkey Kong, where you're saving What the hell?
That would actually be fantastic.
That'd be
if someone
interesting.
Actually, come up with a new way to do that.
Yeah.
Never happen. It'll never happen.
What I think Nintendo needs to do to really save themselves is finally release a really good, either third or first person next gen Pokemon game.
I think everybody's waiting for that, man. I think we're all
I think
waiting.
everyone would fucking buy that game. I think if
Well,
it,
and stop me if I'm wrong, but I heard from somewhere that the next Pokemon is going to be like Disney Infinity and Skylanders, where you buy the little figurines for your Pokemon.
See, I think that's speculation right now, but I don't see why they wouldn't completely capitalize on that fact.
everyone, sorry,
that money would save the Wii U.
yeah.
Easily. I don't know what they're waiting for. We haven't heard anything about it. They announced X and Y in their Nintendo,
Which are going to be a different perspective style game, but it's still going to be handheld.
It's like slightly isometric, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a little bit. But man, when we were kids, we were playing Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow at that time.
That's all I got up to. I didn't like when they put new Pokemon into it.
Me neither. But the thing is like we're in our late 20s almost, and I would play the shit out of a new Pokemon game.
The idea of it is fun, finding and I have to say we both played what's it called?
Ni no Kuni?
Ni no Kuni.
So did Ja.
Which had that kind of vibe to it. You can collect, new creatures and then use them and fight with them. And honestly, if that was themed more in the Pokemon universe, I mean, they're good to go with that. I mean,
I think we could all agree that Nintendo has so many options, and it's just we're pulling our hair out saying, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, what is taking so long? Why is Bayonetta your biggest release this year? I don't get it. What do you have? I'm just excited to see what they bring to the table.
Where the fuck are the games?
Right? Come on. And you know what? He comes out and they come out and they apologize like, just trust us. By the way, just trust us. Stay with us. And it's like, why? Give me a reason to trust you. I don't care that you're giving me Punch Out for 30 cents. Like, I understand that gimmick. Great. But where were all these
worth 30 cents?
Exactly. They have all these IPs that they're just hanging out on. And they're doing a disservice to their fans by not having anything out there for them.
Any apology from a corporation, as sincere as it could possibly be, always just rings hollow to me. Because I don't care.
Sorry.
Like, I don't want apologies. I want it fixed. Like, do your job right. Don't apologize.
So you're saying Nintendo's like the BP oil spill?
Like the what?
The BP oil spill.
Yes. There are seals drenched in Nintendo.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week on the AwayCast. That's awaycast.com. Check us out. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You know where to find us. We really appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Greg,
Outro.
Greg, thank you.
Thank you very much
for joining
John.
us. Josh, thanks for coming all the way from Chicago via the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of tubes you had to travel to get here. Guys, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
See you later.